Hey everybody, welcome back to Battle Ready Inc. So today's deck profile is going to be purple level 4 rush with BeelStarmon control. This deck is hot, okay? This is blowing me away how powerful this deck is. If you saw the feature match, I talked about it a bit there, but I'll say it again here as well. This deck showed up at my locals. We tested it a few days beforehand, me and my testing partner, just because I wanted to give you guys something different. I was like, oh, BeelStarmon, we want to have Musketeers back on the channel again. Well, I know that Pure Purple did pretty well in JP. How about we do something like that? But we'll change it up. We'll use the Eismon stuff, purple, level 4 rush. How about that? And we tested it out, and in testing, it was great. And then my testing partner's wife brought it to locals to play. Her first time ever playing in locals, her like 6th or 7th time ever playing Digimon, and got second at our locals with this deck. That's how powerful of a deck this truly is. I can't wait to show you. Also, our new memory marker for this month is Doraemon. So if you're playing some X antibody, this is a great memory marker. I mean, it's literally the perfect memory marker for X antibody. Absolutely awesome. Love this little guy. Super cute. Handmade out of clay by my wife. Hand painted as well. You can find that on our Etsy store, as well as all of our previous memory markers we've had on the channel. You can get all those at our Etsy store. And now our Battle Ready Inc. merch is also on our Etsy store. So everything is all combined in one nice location, from our Battle Ready Inc. mats, sleeves, and Battle Ready Inc. dice here very soon. All of it all in one great location. All right, so doing things a little bit different this week. Going to keep with the trend, showing you the whole deck all at once. This is actually the same deck, card for card, that we had earlier this week in the feature match. Usually I like to update them with like some things that felt wrong or felt a little off, and I like to improve upon them. But honestly, like, this deck feels solid. From the start to finish, this deck has felt wonderful, like just so perfect. There's like a couple cards you could maybe tweak, but really the deck has a lot of room, so you almost don't have to really change much. It's more of just a couple ratios for personal preference. But let's go ahead and jump in here and do the card by card. So first up, we have our eggs here. In Digimon is just the perfect egg for an Eismon package. Eismon doesn't get hit on the ban list until the end of April when BT8 comes out. Okay, so we have a full set rotation with Eismon in BT7. So we're going to use that to its fullest. So Digimon works great on deletion, draw one, trash one. This is for an inheritable. Next, we have the Gabumon that works perfectly for that, which has the inheritable of on deletion, draw 2, trash 1. If you're not familiar with the Eismon package, I'll go ahead and we'll talk about the first one here. This is Eismon scatter mode. This is your ideal target. Your turn 1 every single time for purple is going to be Digimon, that Gabumon, the on deletion inheritable Gabumon, and then scatter mode on top of that. So this is on deletion, draw 3, trash 2. So draw 3, trash 2, draw 2, trash 1, and then draw 1, trash 1. So you get to put 4 cards in total in trash off of discards, and then you get to these 3 go into trash as well because they're on deletion. So literally in essentially one turn or your second turn, you have 7 cards in trash, which for purple is great. We get to do a whole lot of things with that. Now, however, there is a caveat to that. If you're not discarding some of this stuff, Eismon. This is another level 4. The first one was Eismon scatter mode. This is regular Eismon. When you discard this card, you get to play it to field for free. You're trashing 4 cards. You could potentially put 4 level 4s on field for free on your second turn. This card is nuts. It also gets a plus 2,000 for each scatter mode in your trash, which most of the time isn't too big a deal. These guys are kind of just your fodder anyways, but truly an incredible package. Scatter mode, also all those discards we're doing, works great with the BeelStarmon. Helps really set your trash up. Just fill it full of option cards, your 7-cost option cards. wonderful. So that's great. Now, what are some other stuff that we've got? So we've covered the Eismon and the scatter mode and that whole package. Now, that's pretty basic for purple. Most purple decks are all running that. Now we're going to get to something that's a little bit different. First up, we got Gabumon. This is our other secondary. If you can't go into Eismon on your first turn and you don't have it in hand, but you have an Ogremon, this is a great alternative. So this Gabumon is from the starter deck. When attacking, trigger, draw one, then trash one card in your hand. So that's just great. So trigger, when attacking, draw one, then trash one card in your hand. So works great when you go on the offensive here. Also, with the Ogremon here, when attacking, you may trash a card in your hand to give this Digimon security attack +1. So again, you're gonna swing in with this guy with that starter deck Gabumon, and so you can trigger both these guys. Really great stuff here. So security attack +1. He's only 5,000 DP. However, in a format filled with hybrids, there is just tons and tons of tamers just sitting in security. Tons of tamers in security, this format. So you can swing in with this guy quite often and just get two clears. 2 clears, and he'll survive for another 2 clears on a follow-up turn. Really, really great stuff. So he's a good Evo target for this Gabumon here, so the when attacking one. This Gabumon also works fine with the scatter mode as well. Essentially, you're going to lose out on 1 draw. So you're still going to trash the same amount as the on deletion Gabumon, but you're only going to get 1 draw instead of 2 draws. But it kind of works out. If the scatter mode somehow survives, then you could get more value on a follow-up turn potentially with the Gabumon. But you'll notice he is a 3 of, and the other one is a 4 of. He is definitely our primary target. We're our preferred Evo, and then the new one, the starter deck one, is just kind of our fallback plan. So that is it for our rookie Evos. So everything, all the rookies that we want to Evo on top of. You notice we only have 8 targets here that actually Evo, level 4 targets that Evo. And then moving on, we got Gazimon. This is our memory blocker. I shouldn't really have to cover why memory blockers are good at this point in the format, but I'll go ahead and briefly hit it. Bokomon. Bokomon is in like almost every hybrid deck ever. When you Evo on top of a Tamer, gain 2 memory. So basically, Bokomon makes all of your Tamer Evos free. Which is absurd. Anytime a level 4 is a free Evo, that is not good news for you, if your opponent is doing that against you. So this turns that off. It also turns off other types of memory gain that's out there. Mainly looking at blue. Blue has a ton of memory gain abilities, whether they're using Hammer Spark, or if you're hitting Ice Wall and Security. Both of those in Security are really dangerous for you, especially when you're swinging in with like an Ogremon hitting 2 Security. You need to be able to turn off any kind of option gaining memory abilities. So Gazimon is great for that. He hits so many decks in the meta. It's just unreal. All the decks that he hits in the meta. It's definitely a must-have. So a 3-0 for him. Then we got 3 Impmon here. So this is the on play. You may trash 1 card in your hand. If you do, return 1 Digimon card with 7 Great Demon Lords or 3 Musketeers in its type from your trash to your hand. This is just going to help you cycle back your BeelStarmons. You only have 4 copies, and this is like BeelStarmon is like your main way of getting access to your options that are going to clear your opponent's Digimon. I mean, you're relying on swinging in and doing all your damage with Eismon, Ogremon, and Scatter Mode. Those are all level 4s. They all have very low DP for the most part. Eismon can get bigger, but if your opponent ever puts anything too formidable out there in your way that you can't get past, you need to be able to remove those big threats off the field. So BeelStarmon will be your go-to, and then recycling her back, because your opponent will probably clear her off the field. You can recycle her back with the Impmon. Also, you may trash 1 card in your hand. So that's another great target to ditch Eismon here. So Eismon, just yet another way to trash him from hand to trash, from hand to trash, and get to play him for free. So really great stuff. That's your aggro package, right? That's your main DPS right there. Level 4 Rush is your main form of security and game winning potential. So BeelStarmon, if you're not familiar, when playing this Digimon from your hand, reduce its play cost by 1 for each 3 Musketeers Digimon card and option card with a memory cost of 7 in your trash. So we play a lot of 7 cost options, okay? A lot of 7 cost options, and we just trash them, okay? Sometimes you'll need to play them. They're hard play cost, 7 play costs from your hand. Occasionally, most of the time though, we're just ditching them. Okay, we're just trashing them off of all those on deletion inheritables and what have you, off the Impmons, whatever. Just get them into trash as fast as possible. All those option cards. The second you put 5 of them in trash, just 5 of them in trash, your BeelStarmon literally becomes 7 play costs, and then you can play any of those. So really, really powerful card. So if you're not familiar, on play, return 1 option card with a memory cost of 7 from your trash to your hand. Then you use 1 option card with a memory cost of 7 in your hand without paying its memory cost. So just because you pick up a certain card from trash doesn't mean you have to play that one. You can play something else instead. But 9 times out of 10, you will just play the one that you picked up out of trash. That's just kind of the general strategy of Musketeers for the most part with BeelStarmon. And then our last Digimon in the deck is 2 Zort Defeat. Only 2 of them, so realistically you won't hit these in security too often because they're in such small quantities, but it does occasionally happen. Again, if you saw the feature match, Zort Defeat got hit first security, put in a tremendous amount of work. But the other benefit, though, is it's a 3 Evo cost. It's a 3 Evo cost on top of a purple. So great to go on top of BeelStarmon. Once BeelStarmon hits the field, she's kind of useless after that. So getting her into trash is typically, what you want to do, so that way you can recycle her back with the Impmon. But until you can get to that point, go Digivolve on top of her for a defeat. 3 memory cost is super easy to do. As long as you have a memory fixer on field, you can keep it on your turn. But when Digivolving, delete one of your opponent's Tamers. 3 Evo cost to delete a Tamer in a hybrid format is so powerful. Very, very good stuff. And then also, on deletion, delete one of your opponent's Digimon. Anything, okay? Any of your opponent's Digimon. One of the drawbacks of this deck, as well as a lot of purple decks, is it struggles to delete level 7 Digimon, okay? They have lots of ways to delete level 6 and below, but anything 7... any level 7s, Trump Sword is literally the only thing. And if that Digimon gets suspended before you can Trump Sword, you're literally, there's nothing you can do. So if a Susanomon hits the field, and whatever reason, if they are able to swing with it, you are in trouble because you can't Trump Sword it because it's suspended. You can go into a defeat, though, and defeat can technically crash with the Susanomon, and then use its on deletion effect to delete the Susanomon. So it's almost like having a retaliation built in. Also, your opponent is not going to want to use any of their removal options on defeat, because then he gets to then turn around and pop something on their field as well. So he has really solid staying power. Just an all-around useful card, I would say, especially for purple. Next, we got 3 Jackraid, and this is kind of literally the only flex spot, I would say, in the deck that you could take it or leave it. But gain 1 memory for every 10 cards in your trash. You can get this live pretty quickly. Like I said, by turn 2, you crash your eyes on scatter mode in trash. You could potentially have 7 cards on your second turn in trash already. Doesn't take much. I mean, literally by your 3rd turn, your Jackraid is live. Also, if it gets hit in security, gain 2 memory. So you get some really good value when it gets hit in security, just like blue and all their Hammer Sparks and their ice walls. When they get hit in security, it feels bad, and Jackraid it hits exactly the same. So 0 play cost, gain 1 memory. This is basically Hammer Spark in this deck, where you can put stuff in trash so stinking fast. Jackraid is essentially just Hammer Spark. Late game, mid to late game, it actually turns into a better Hammer Spark, because again, you put 10 in trash like super fast. By like turn 3, you have 10 in trash. By turn 4 or 5, you can have 20 in trash. Okay, it's not unheard of to get to turn 5 and have 20 in trash in purple. Okay, so this can get very powerful very quickly. But in a nutshell, it's just Hammer Spark. In most forms, it's just a Hammer Spark, which is totally fine, because Hammer Spark is played at 4 of in blue. So just at a 3 of in here, because it's just not useful for the first couple of turns. After that, completely fine though. So at a 3 of. Next, we got Glaive Memory Boost. kind of a flex spot, but at the same time, kind of not. 3 play cost, return one of purple Digimon from your trash to your hand, then place this in your battle area. With a memory fixer, you can play this immediately, keep it on your turn. What's so beneficial about returning stuff from your trash? One, your BeelStarmon. Your BeelStarmon is your like main big removal of, you know, you're being able to play your removal options. So recycling back BeelStarmon, if you don't, it's essentially like an Impmon here, but you don't have to discard. So 3 play cost, get that BeelStarmon back to hand, play that BeelStarmon again. Also, recycle your Eismon. Yes, recycle your Eismon, your discard ones, so you can discard it again and then get to play it for free. So just recycling the Eismon to abuse. We'll absolutely abuse Eismon until the day that it is officially banned, or limited to 1, I should say. And then delay, just gain 2 memory. So again, similar to Impmon, but a bit more generic. You can add anything, doesn't require a discard, and then on a follow-up turn, you get to gain 2 memory. The only, you know, of course, obvious downside is you don't have a body on field. Impmon is clearly a body that you could digivolve, like a scatter mode on top of, or something like that. So it's just another way of getting around it. But speaking of adding stuff back, Digimon back from trash, we have Calling from Darkness. This one was kind of, people thought it might get limited on the ban list. It did not, but it is still a very powerful card. So main, delete one of your Digimon, period. Then return up to 2 purple Digimon cards from your trash to your hand. This is a 1 play cost to add 2 purple Digimon cards from your trash to your hand. This period, why I said it like I did. This is not like War Greymon Yellow, where you have to do the first effect and then because you did the first effect, you do the second one. No. If you don't have a target on field to pop, you can still play this card and add 2. Mind blown, right? Just like in the old days, if you were to play Flower Cannon for 2, even if your opponent doesn't have any Digimon on field, you can still play the Flower Cannon and pay the 2 memory. Most time people would do it to choke their opponent, right? You're at 1, you play a Flower Cannon, put your opponent at 1. So it's kind of the similar thing. Just because you don't have a target doesn't mean you can't play it. You can still play it and then resolve as much as possible. So first effect, all right, no targets, that's fine. Go to the second effect. Now activate the second effect. It's not delete one of your Digimon to return up to 2. No. It says delete one of your Digimon, period. Then return up to 2. Very, very powerful stuff. Next, we got our option package here, our removal option package. So the first one being Fly Bullet here. All Musketeer options, in case you're not aware, as long as you have a Musketeers on field, you can ignore the color requirement. So kind of important for one of them, because we have the black one in here. Just keep that in mind. So main, delete one of your opponent's level 6 or lower Digimon. Security, activate Insecurity. Pretty solid card. You know, aside from Susanomon, you're hitting pretty much everything relevant in the meta on this card. So an easy discard to play for later. This is one of those few ones where you can just kind of hard play it from hand occasionally. You know, if your opponent goes into a Mega too soon, Fly Bullet. Really good targets are something like a Dynasmon. Dynasmon is a really irritating card to deal with, especially if your opponent doesn't get aggressive and swing at security. They just leave it on field sitting there. Fly Bullet is a really good way to deal with that. Another good one, though, is Trump Sword. And we have to run Trump Sword, unfortunately. The reason I say that, so for the most part, Fly Bullet kind of just deals with everything. It's level 6 or below, so you can deal with most things in the game, okay, with Fly Bullet. What you can't deal with, though, is stuff like Susanomon. If your opponent brings out a Susanomon, passes turn back to you, because it is a massive 7 Evo cost for Susanomon. It's really difficult to keep it on their turn. Even with win rate and multiple memory gaining options and a memory fixer, it's still difficult to get to keep it on their turn with a Susanomon. So when they play that out and it passes back to you, Trump Sword is literally like your only go-to reliable way to remove that immediately. So you need to have Trump Sword in the deck. At least 2 quantities. I think 3 is fine, because it is really nice and generic. It is generic. It has a 7 play cost, so we can discard it to trash, and it'll help our BeelStarmon, reduce our BeelStarmon's play cost. So it just adds to, you know, the overall strategy with her, so we can play out BeelStarmon, you know, for 5 memory or whatever, you know, a very low quantity there. I think the lowest we can go is, what is it? 6, 8, so we can reduce her down to 4 if there's other BeelStarmon in trash as well. The lowest we can, I think, get her is 1 play cost for a BeelStarmon. So 1 play cost trump sword, right? And you get a mega on field. What's not to love about that, right? So Trump Sword, just another thing that really adds to the deck, I think. Must have, though, okay? You could play some other options, but it's literally purple's only way to deal with Susanomon. So you got to run it. I think 3 is solid. 3 has been perfect so far. Really, really liking it. And then a 2 of here is Gwaltschwarmer. So we can play it as long as we have a Musketeers on the field. You notice we don't have anything else black in the deck. Without BeelStarmon, this card is dead, okay? There's no point of holding on to this one. If you have the choice of discarding this or any of your other purple options, discard this one every single time. Because the only time it'll ever be live is off of a BeelStarmon being played, okay? So just ditch this, but it is so powerful. We only have it at a 2 of. We just need to get 1 in rotation. Just 2 ofs are solid if you only ever need a single copy of it. And that's fine in this because we can just recycle it as many times as we want. We just play it continuously off of all of our BeelStarmons. Delete all Digimon with a play cost of 7 or less. This is a very hybrid, inducive format, right? Everything, all these level 5s, these level 4s, all of this stuff. Tons of decks are opting out of megas entirely. I know several blue decks that are still of the mindset that they don't need megas. Okay, I think they're crazy. I think you have to run megas because you can't just stall until it's time to Susanomon and win, okay? If you can't just stall and go Susanomon, I win, you need to have another win con, and that's in the form of megas. A lot of decks aren't running that. They're just sticking with these level 5s and these level 4 rush hybrid decks. That's not going to do it, and Gwaltschwarmer is going to punish those players severely. And it's just a great card. If you saw the feature match, we really got to see the power of this card multiple times. Literally, at my locals, the one I was telling you about where she got 2nd place, the only game she lost that whole night was literally to me. I was playing my yellow-purple hybrid, and at one point she BeelStarmon and went for something else. I think went for a fly bullet to maybe delete my Dynasmon, but I had a whole field of like 4 targets that Gwaltschwarmer would have killed. And I think killing those 4 targets with the Gwaltschwarmer was the correct play, but went with the fly bullet instead. Like I said, it was a very inexperienced player, didn't know any better. So literally the only game lost was that one game that whole night. And I think it could have gone a little different if they had just played the Gwaltschwarmer instead. So very, very powerful card as a must-have in this deck for sure. Essentially, it's also like the purple option card, the Schwartz, that for every hybrid and tamer in play, you can delete a level 5 or less. That's basically what Gwaltschwarmer is doing as well. You hit your own Digimon as well. So the idea is to crash with all of your level 4s, and then to pass turn, you slam down a BeelStarmon to play the Gwaltschwarmer to pass turn. That's like the typical go-to play that you want to do. And our last couple cards here, first we got Matt. Matt is just a solid memory fixer for the deck. I think is a great choice. You can, again, you return 1 purple Digimon card or purple option card from your trash to your hand. Great form of recycle. Again, just pick up another Eismon to discard, again, for more fodder to immediately play. Add back your BeelStarmons to keep cycling through those. You know, just tons of generic use. Any of our option cards here that we want to add back, go ahead and add those back. Solid card, absolutely. I think he's a must. I think he really is a must. I just had a 2 of. A memory fixer in this deck, like I said, isn't overly important. Most of our stuff is like 2 Evo costs. That's, you know, usually a little bit more manageable than like 3 Evo costs. Your opponent's more willing to put you at 2 than they ever are to put you at 3. So memory fixers aren't as important in this deck, but still very, very solid. You can never go wrong with having a memory fixer on field. And then our very last two cards is Analog Youth. I think this is a pretty neat include, simply because we're trashing so much. So on play, reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, add 1 Digimon card among them to your hand, trash the remaining cards. Most of the time, the issue is, well, you know, I want to trash all my options, okay? All the options I don't care about, but I don't want to play something and risk bottom decking something or trashing my, you know, Eismon or something like that. So reveal 3, add any Digimon. So whatever Digimon is really prevalent in that moment, add that, trash everything else. So you prefer 1 Digimon, 2 options, 2 of your 7 cost options, right? And Analog Youth just really helps amplify that up of getting stuff in trash really quickly, as well as he's kind of like a search card. So like a kind of like a purple memory boost, but in the form of a tamer. And then you also trash everything else. Whereas purple memory boost bottom decks everything, Analog Youth just throws it in trash for you. His other effect is a little more limited when one of your level 5 or higher Digimon with Digivolution cards is deleted. You may suspend this tamer. If you do, gain 1 memory. Then hatch 1 egg. The egg could matter in this deck. I could definitely see the egg mattering a little bit more. So yeah, he's just really interesting. The only way you'll ever get to use his effect is if you Evo a defeat on top of a BeelStarmon, and the defeat gets deleted while that BeelStarmon is still underneath him. That's the only way you'll ever trigger that second analog effect. But the first one I think is still solid. If you think he's just too much of a brick, you can also drop him. I think the Jack Raid, again, I said it was kind of a flex spot, but a really solid one that I really liked with scatter mode. Makes Jack Raid way more easy to play now than ever before. But Analog Youth, I could see the argument to drop it. You know, you could bump a mat up, you could bump, you know, anything in this deck you could literally bump up. If it's not already, you know, at 2 of, you could bump it up to a 3, or the 3's up to a 4, whatever you prefer. I couldn't really find a good reason to drop him. The deck has worked phenomenally so far, and I think in the hands of a very skilled purple player that this deck is going to punish, okay? A lot of people were really hesitant about Musketeers and Lilith Loop in the last format, and what do we see? We saw that deck come alive at Nationals, and I think this deck has the potential to do the same thing, okay? It could definitely take the meta by storm if people aren't looking out for it.